What's up, Internet? Welcome back to What's the Points? Big news in credit card land. Looks like Amex has done this long anticipated refresh. So why don't I just jump on the bandwagon and do my review of the gold? This is actually a good time for me to do it because recently I have upgraded my gold to an Amex Platinum. And I did so uh, for a couple reasons. It was a good sign-up bonus, but mostly because it was time to make a change. I found that the work and effort and cost to reward ratio of having the gold, like many others that I've seen right now, and I'm going to argue, particularly with this new refresh, um, is not worth it. Actually, um, it could be potentially if you are spending an inordinate amount of money on U.S. restaurants and um, supermarkets. So I guess you could use it on on restaurants abroad if they accept Amex in the first place. And got the personal is rose gold, and I chose regular gold for the business. Um, so the creditification continues, and there'll be lots of other reviews of this card, so I don't want this to be an in-depth review of this card. Really, I just, because I just a couple weeks ago just changed to the platinum. Now this has really cemented my decision, because the what you're getting versus the cost. I mean, this is something that I saw, the frequent traveler, their podcast. They mentioned, um, well, uh, this used to be a card that we would recommend to someone who's getting into the hobby, but now they're not sure that they would, because you know that price point at 325, um, it no longer really justifies that for someone who's more casual about this hobby. And if you're like me or others who are more serious about this hobby, and you want to seriously discuss having this card be your keeper card, then I think it's worth taking a step back and looking at what your optimal setup is. And if you don't have the time or patience to have a very detailed spreadsheet where you track all your budgets and your spending by category, um, and so forth, then I think that you would benefit from, at a minimum, looking at how many credits you have to track across all your cards, whether or not you want to use an app, particularly the paid version of an app like Credit Pointers, for example. I just got a subscription to them, and I'm not advertising them. I'm just mentioning that part of why I decided to get that was um, too many credits to track, and I feel like that app so far is doing a good job of helping me uh, remember which monthly credits are about to expire. So, where are we accounting for that cost? Again, this is the thing that is missing from the credits, and we are giving Amex too much credit for adding these additional credits and then doing their marketing work for them and saying, oh, well, now you can get with this change up to $450 of credits versus 350, or whatever that exact number was. It's kind of missing the point, because the amount of real top end value versus how much the annual fee went up. I think even if you could use all of those credits, if you properly discount the value of those credits like you should be in this kind of analysis, because A, you're paying up front, that has an opportunity cost. uh, B, the time and work and effort, that has some value, right? Simpler, all things equal, simpler is always going to be better. Having, for example, the Capital One Saver One card, that one gives you 3x miles if you pair it with a venture on all the same categories plus additional categories than the Amex Gold. And no annual fee, most importantly, but also no foreign currency conversion fee. Um, Granted, this Amex doesn't, but then you need to bring a Visa or MasterCard with you internationally anyway. And let's be honest, team, um, if you're traveling internationally, or put it this way, if you're not traveling internationally, then why do you care so much about earning membership rewards points? If you're a more casual traveler, I would make the argument that the Chase ecosystem is better if you're skewed more domestically, or even just a straight cashback setup. Uh, to me, it's pretty clear, especially since Hyatt is not a transfer partner of Amex, uh, to have a particular setup that focuses on a card like this, which for a mid-level card has now, I believe, an unreasonably high, um, amount of maintenance, amount of attention that we have to do this. And it only really makes sense if your goal, and we're talking about keeper cards, right? The disclaimer here is that any card is worth getting in its first year, provided that you get a sign-up bonus. So, if really we want to talk about the gold and whether or not it's worth it, we really need to look at that trade-off of how much more work and cost are we incurring in order to get that extra 1x. And the only real reason I see to do that is if you had a very, very strong reason, in particular, for building up membership rewards points in preference to the other bank points for whatever reason. And probably the best reason would be because you want to do a lot of international flying, because that's the best use case, the most common use case that I see in this hobby for membership rewards points. So are we are we clear on that? Are we clear that that's actually what we're using this card for? Because if we're not, and it's more, we just like Amex and we like this white gold, we like the hype train. I'm not saying I'm immune to hype in marketing, but I feel like with all of our eyes turned on this latest change, it's worth taking a step back and asking ourselves, and this is my invitation to you, is why are we in this hobby? Why are we interested in this card? If we already have the card, how does this change to the card affect our overall strategy? Because it has to ultimately, right? Because this is now, it's forcing a change on the system here, which the $75 doesn't tell the whole story. Unless you just don't care about those extra credits, you're like, I get so much value out of this card that whether or not I use up all the Uber credits or the Dunkin' Donuts credits and all this other silly, fluff that they're adding on with more things to track. And I mean, a $7 a month credit, and I'm reading some of the comments and other reviews saying, oh, this is great. I go to Dunkin'. It's like, let me tell you, okay, uh, even if I had a Dunkin' next door, and even if I really liked what they have, you can't deny the fact that each additional tiny little monthly credit that you have to track is still one more thing that you need to track. Because I'm sorry, I don't believe you. I don't believe you if you're telling me, well, I'm there anyway, therefore I don't need to track it. This is not true. If you're taking this hobby seriously, as I think that if you're going to have multiple cards, or even not have multiple cards, even if this was your one card, you still need to look at the big picture here. And so that is my take on this change. Um, I think a good comparison to make, if we're going to forgive Amex for the further creditification and couponification of their cards, because I feel like I see too many people eager to defend Amex or to say, well, they're just doing what they're justified in doing. Okay, I mean, yes, it's their prerogative to change their products however they want. And it's our prerogative to decide whether or not to keep those products or to look at other ones based on a more holistic looking picture. So in this case, if you compare it to, let's say, the Delta cards, this is a good point of comparison because those cards, they were all significantly enhanced. Why? Well, two main reasons. One, the amount of credits that were added relative to the annual fee increase was much more favorable than these changes now on the gold. And the second reason is because by doing so, they greatly expanded the use case for those cards, because previously you really had to be a Delta frequent flyer. Now you just need to be willing to spend a lot, um, you know, which is a sign of the times too, because that's how the Delta status changed. I just made a video about that a few days ago, so check that out in the link below if you want to see that totally separate topic. But this card, the changes, I think, for me, well, it doesn't matter because I just changed out, but it does impact my decision for when it comes time for renewal of the platinum because I was strongly considering downgrading. Now, as long as they don't increase the fee of the platinum, and I don't think they will because that increase was done much more recently than the gold. Now the delta between the gold and platinum is less on the annual fee, but unquestionably the credits are much better. And so in my case, because I already have access to several other cards that reliably earn good multipliers on these same categories, and in particular, let's look at dining. Okay, there's a million cards now that get 3x or better on dining. So the really only unusual thing here is the groceries. Um, and then you got to look at, okay, so you're buying a ton of groceries, but you're not going to Costco, you're not going to Target or Walmart. You're only going to, proper grocery stores and spending a lot. So how many people is that really? Because that's the only way I believe that you are making out above having other cards that have less complexity to track in the first place. So that's it. If you agree or disagree, would love to hear your thoughts on this. I know it's kind of controversial. It's nice to have enough privilege for this to be controversial. Talking about whether or not a $7 a month Dunkin' credit is, a beneficial ad or not. Um, but I think it's always important when these changes happen, especially when there's a lot of hype, that we take a step back and really look at our whole setup as far as what we're doing with all of our financial products, including credit products. Um, that's really the lens that we should be using so we don't get too carried away in the hype train. And instead, we keep refocusing on how do we continue to earn the most reliable value in a way that integrates with our lifestyle and doesn't create too much management work. My spreadsheet, I don't know about you guys, my spreadsheet is already big enough, and it's time to start simplifying things a little bit. So for now, I just want to say sayonara, so long, and thanks for all the fish to the gold, because it's going to be a little while before I come back. Ciao for now.